Employee and young Kashmiri Pandit Rahul Bhatt was killed in cold blood by terrorists last week. Bhatt worked at the Tehsil office in Chadura town in the Budgaon district of Kashmir, and that is where he was gunned down. Since then, there have been massive protests every day by Kashmiri Pandits. They are clear. Assurances of heightened security will no longer do. They want to be relocated to safer destinations like Jammu. They're also demanding that the government drop the clauses in the Prime Minister's rehabilitation package that bar transfer of government employees outside of the Kashmir Valley. Scores of government employees have resigned en masse, saying this is the only way they can save their lives. Many others, including teachers, are too scared to return to work, worried that they too may have a target painted on their backs. Last September and October witnessed a spate of killings of Hindus and migrant labourers in Kashmir. That too had triggered tremendous panic, but Kashmiri Pandits say they were not allowed to leave their stations and forced to resume duties despite the threat to their lives. This time, they are refusing to budge. A few days ago, the protesters were even lathi-charged by the police, a move severely criticised. So we're asking tonight, does anyone really care about Kashmiri Pandits? Reduced to being refugees in their own land, has the tragedy of the Pandits only been used as political fodder over the decades since their mass exodus from the valley in the 1990s? Haven't political parties and successive governments, both in Jammu and Kashmir and at the centre, only paid lip service to the cause of the Kashmiri Pandits and used them to garner votes? Why isn't the centre doing more to provide them security? Why are the government employees in the Pandit community being forced to work in the valley where they do not feel safe? Has anything substantive really been done to rehabilitate the displaced community despite tall promises that are made in election manifestos and speeches over the years and decades? Has abrogation of Article 370, which was billed as a magic bullet to address the complex issue of terrorism in Kashmir, really changed anything on the ground?
मैं आपके चैनल के माध्यम से उनको बता देना चाहता हूं कि आप दिखाएं इसको। मेरा नाम अविनाश है, कैटेगरी में अपना नाम बता रहा हूं। मैं 90 नंबर पे साइन कर रहा हूं। मैं ये मास रिजाइन कर रहा हूं सबके सामने कि अगर आप हमारी डिमांड्स पूरी नहीं करते हैं तो जनाब ये मैंने साइन कर दिए। आई एम हैप्पी टू रिजाइन।
इसलिए नहीं हम यहाँ पे आए हैं कि हम यहाँ आए और यहाँ आके अपनी जानें गंवाएं। हमारे फैमिली हमें लेके आते हैं और बाद में हमारी डेड बॉडीज को लेके जाते हैं। दिस इज नॉट द सोल्यूशन।
मेरा बेटा शॉप पे होता है 3 बजे, उसको छुट्टी होती है, 5 साल का बेटा है, वो शॉप पे वेट कर रहा होता है माँ आएगी। उसको क्या विश्वास है कि माँ की लाश मिलेगी कि माँ जिंदा मिलेगी? सर हमें अपनी आइडेंटिटी छुपानी पड़ती है। क्यों हम फिर तो हमें हिंदू होना हमारे लिए, हमें कोई ये क्या जुर्म है? हम हिंदू हैं, हमें बोला जाता है सिर पर दुपट्टा रख के आओ, अपनी बिंदी हटा के आओ। सर क्यों हम ऐसे, मतलब ऐसा क्यों हम करेंगे?
12 साल से ये हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स ही नहीं समझ रहे। हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स कहाँ है, क्या है? स्ट्रेस है, वर्क प्रेशर है, यहाँ पे क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही, सिक्योरिटी इशू हो रही है यहाँ पे। एटलीस्ट ये तो समझ आ रहा होगा ना उनको कि क्या हम इतने मजबूर क्यों है ये सब करने के लिए। इतने 12 साल से हमने ये सब नहीं किया, अब क्यों किया हमने?
हमें मुसलमान से इतना खतरा नहीं था, हमें टेररिज्म से इतना खतरा नहीं था, लेकिन जो पैन टेररिज्म, मैं वर्ड कर रहा हूँ, जो पैन टेररिज्म ब्यूरोक्रेसी के अंदर कश्मीरी का यूज किया जा रहा है, जो कश्मीरी पंडित के साथ हर दफ्तर में जुल्म किया जा रहा है, हम उसके खिलाफ आज आवाज उठाते हैं।
Very strong voices there. Kashmiri Pandits say they fear for their lives, but the government is refusing to listen. They've accused the centre of utter apathy. Let's go across to our panel of guests. Joining me on the show tonight, Manzoor Bhatt, BJP leader in Jammu and Kashmir, Ifra Jan, spokesperson for the Jammu and Kashmir National Assembly, Sushil Pandit, Kashmiri Pandits activist, and Rakesh Handu, also an activist, joining us on the show tonight. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Let me, before I go across to the politicians on the panel, I want to get a word in from the Kashmiri Pandits that we have, because this show is really about them. Sushil Pandit, I will start with you. Great to have you back after so long. We've all witnessed what's been happening in Kashmir in recent months. There was a spate of killings specifically targeting Hindus and migrant laborers in September and October of last year. The government gave all sorts of assurances to Kashmiri Pandits, telling them they were safe, and then Rahul Bhatt's cold-blooded murder takes place. This time Kashmiri Pandits are saying, we do not feel safe for a second. Allow us to move out of the valley, transfer us to safer places like Jammu. Most of these people that we're talking about are government employees who are bound by a certain bond which does not allow them to leave the Kashmir Valley. The question really is, how do you read the current situation on the ground? What is very clear is that Kashmiri Pandits are absolutely panic-stricken and they feel abandoned. Do you believe the centre has taken any measures in recent times to show that it really cares?
I'm afraid, Neha, no. A big no. The government has absolutely no clue. None other than the DGP himself has repeatedly in the past said that we cannot provide security to every individual, as if there was a police force in the world anywhere that provided security to every citizen. The man talks out of his hat, primarily because he has absolutely no solutions. His concept of security is this colonial concept of 10 gunmen marching left and right around some colonial master, some MP, MLA, or a minister. Their very imagination has run out of ideas. They are not committed to securing average citizens. And they've thrown up their hands in despair. I would rather that they resign and go home if they can't provide a sense of security. Security is not about putting up people with guns guarding places. Security is about creating an environment where a would-be assassin would shake in his shoes before even thinking up this. And his support system would beg and plead him not to do this because the consequences would be unbearable for an entire mass. Those who support him, those who harbor him, those who are his close, near and dear ones, and those who support him politically. He cannot operate all by himself. There is a support system there. So that is the root cause. And another issue is that government is in a hurry to push us back in the valley because this question is asked of them every now and then, so many years, and they're still out, languishing in the camps. What have you done? So as if we are an unwanted burden to be shaken off, they want to throw us like lambs to slaughter in a valley which has hardly been secured. They don't want to fight back the jihad. They do not want to break the back of jihad in Kashmir. They just want to prune some leaves and twigs. They don't want to strike at the very support system, the root, the trunk, those who harbor them, those who provide political support to them, those who fund them. Only the ones who pull the trigger are neutralized in the encounters. You know, Hurriyat is yet to be banned in Kashmir. Can you imagine this?
Yes.
And those who are being tried, you know, there is a mock trial. There is an apology of prosecution happening of some of the people not tried for any murder or massacre, tried for terror funding, tried for belonging to an organization, tried for conspiration for some kind of terror activity, not for massacres, not for a genocide. We don't even have a genocide protocol in this country. They don't even acknowledge that Hindus were committed to a genocide in Kashmir. They don't even plan to give us any relief in terms of justice to the victims and survivors. So we have a very ham-handed approach in the government that refuses to acknowledge what they are challenged by. They refuse to offer justice. They refuse to hang people who are responsible for this gruesome tragedy that has been continuing for the last 32 years. Each murder actually is another murder to the string of murders taking place in these are not isolated.
Absolutely. 32 years. Has there been any justice? Has anything changed? Very well put, very eloquently put as always, Sushil Pandit. And I want to go across to Rakesh Handu at this point. But before I do that, I want to, quickly quote Dr. Archana Kokru, who has recently written a letter to the Prime Minister of India, after the killing of Rahul Bhatt last week, saying, on behalf of Kashmiri Pandits, we've been ignored and sidelined while others make decisions concerning our future. No high-level official has visited the camps in Jammu. They have not done anything to improve the lot of these underprivileged families who've lost everything because of terrorism. The government has shown no interest in talking to Kashmiri Pandit representatives to discuss their plight and problems. Till 1990, we kept the tricolour flying high in the valley and paid a heavy price for being patriotic Indians. It is disappointing and disheartening to see the apathy the government has towards us. Rakesh Handuji, I want to ask you a simple question. We talk about so much about a film like Kashmir Files. The entire government, seemed to be promoting that movie in many ways. Yes, what happened 30 years ago in Kashmir to Kashmiri Pandits was horrendous. There has been no justice till date. But the question I want to ask you is, what is being done for them even now? As we speak, there are scores of them protesting on the streets. They are saying they are living in absolute fear and terror. They can't go back to work because they might have a target painted on their back. They don't know if they leave their homes in the morning, whether they will return home alive in the evening. That is the current situation of Kashmiri Pandits as we speak in 2022. So tell me, what has any government or political party done for the cause of Kashmiri Pandits except to pay lip service to their cause and perhaps use them as a vote bank?
Thanks, ma'am, for giving me an opportunity. Actually, people on this forum or maybe on the media exactly don't know what is this package about. This package was it was called an economic package. There was no condition that Kashmiri Pandits will be taken like scapegoats and put in, cages in Kashmir. I have been working on ground for last, from the day this package has been implemented, and a lot of our brothers, sisters. Actually, this economic package was for those people who, because of various reasons, could not leave J&K. They were economically weak. They were sent back there. And there were a lot of terms and conditions put. There is a bond that you will not be transferred from one district to another district. People are, cursing. People are fighting their promotions for their other benefits. There are a lot of people. I am sorry to say, ma'am, there were some people within our community who misguided the government of India to help them to push Kashmiri Pandits just to show in the world that Kashmiri Pandits have started returning back. This problem is not after the death of Rahul Bhatt only. People have been, put to the wall. They have been put before the bullets to prove that we are bringing back democracy in the country. We are bringing back democracy in Kashmir. They have been put to, there is no facility. You send your team to Kashmir, you see in what conditions they are living. There is no roadmap. I remember when Umar Abdullah was the Chief Minister, Rajnath Singh was Home Minister, he had written a letter to then Chief Minister of Kashmir, that was Umar Abdullah, to identify a place where Kashmiri Pandits can be settled. I don't know where that has gone, where they have kept in the cold room. These people have been used as a scapegoats in Kashmir. There are various issues. And I am telling you frankly, it is a very, very clear and very, very, I have been talking to a lot of people in camps. They are sitting, they don't have water, they don't have food. They are sitting 24/7. They have been put in cage, they have been lathi charge. They are not allowed to move out of the, currents have been put. They cannot touch the even gates. This is the miserable condition they are living for last 5 days. And nobody is there to see what the hell is going on there.
All right, very strong words there again from Rakesh Handu as well. Both the Kashmiri Pandit guests we have on the show are very clear that members of the Kashmiri Pandit community have been used as scapegoats and lambs for the slaughter just to prove a point to the world that the government is doing something for the rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits. But now the Kashmiri Pandits are living in fear, especially since the brutal killing by terrorists of this young man called Rahul Bhatt, who was gunned down in the Tehsil office in the Chudura town in Badgaon district in Jammu and Kashmir. So what really is the way forward? As we wait for our guest from the BJP to join us, I believe we have a problem with his line there. I want to go across to Ifra Jan of the National Conference. Ifra, you've heard the strong sentiments being expressed by the Kashmiri Pandit guests on our show. Fact of the matter is, whether we talk about what happened back then in the 1990s, that extremely unfortunate dark chapter in the history of Kashmir, or whether we talk about the present situation, the reality is very little has changed on the ground, especially for Kashmiri Muslims who have been, for Kashmiri Pandits who have been reduced to being refugees in their own land. The question I want to ask you is, because your party has also been in power in Jammu and Kashmir several times over, the criticism is that whether it is successive governments in Jammu and Kashmir or at the center, nobody has ever done anything for Kashmiri Pandits. All they've done is make tall promises and claims, pay lip service to the cause of the Pandits. What would your response be?
You see, when you look at the killings in Jammu and Kashmir, you realize that Kashmiri Pandits are as vulnerable in Kashmir as the Kashmiri Muslims are. For example, the day Rahul Bhatt was killed, on the very same day, we also had an SPO Riaz Thokar who was killed. The second day, we had another killing of a Kashmiri Muslim. We have had massacres of Sikhs like the Chatti Singhpura massacre. So the first thing, as you're saying, what is it that we should do? The first thing that we should do is, when we talk of the issue and of terrorism in Kashmir, we should talk about all the victims and not selectively talk about victims based on their religion. That is the first thing to tackle a problem. The second thing, of course, is to, as I'm saying, is for the government of India, which happens to be the BJP government, which has happened to be in power in Jammu and Kashmir for past 8 years now, first in alliance with the PDP government, and now they're ruling directly with the help of the LG, and they've been in power in central government for 8 years, to not use this security situation as some sort of electoral benefit agenda in the mainland India, to not go about politicizing something as crucial as internal security. Because when you politicize something when you politicize something so loudly, you also make the people, the communities very, very vulnerable. And do not politicize such things. And this is something we've been saying right from day one. Third thing we should, of course, not be doing is selling this lie of normalcy, that there is normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir, there is normalcy. We have been from day one saying that Article 370 abrogation did not achieve anything.
Okay.
And this is something we said that very day, that it's not going to achieve something. So one last thing that the government should absolutely not be doing for peace process to begin is not pitch the two communities, the Kashmiri Muslim community against the or the larger communities against each other by saying that, listen, only when we take away your rights to select a chief minister, only when you take away your right to form your own state assembly, would the interest of the other be secured.
Okay.
What eventually has happened, while they try to disempower, say that, only when we disempower one.
Okay, Ifra, I take your point. When you say
every community,
there is no doubt, there is no doubt that both Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Pandits have been victims of terror in Jammu and Kashmir. There is no denying that at all. And you are saying there should be no politicization, and I agree with you when you say that one community should not be pitted against another. That is the last thing Jammu and Kashmir needs. That's the last thing India needs. However, the reason why we are focusing on Kashmiri Pandits tonight, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, is for the simple reason that even though, yes, Kashmiri Muslims also continue to get killed, there is evidence to suggest, Ifra, that it is Pandits who are being systematically targeted, as are migrant laborers. There is a nefarious design to drive them away, to to strike terror in their hearts. And I think that is the reason why we need to focus on their plight and what the government has failed to do for them. I will come back to you, Ifra. I will come back to you, Ifra. I have Manzoor Bhatt of the BJP joining us at this point. Manzoor ji, I hope you can hear me. I don't know if you were able to hear the other panelists. हमारे पैनल पे 2 कश्मीरी पंडित हैं, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की इफ्रा जान भी हैं. सब लोगों का ये कहना है कि बीजेपी हो, कोई भी सरकार हो, बातें बहुत बड़ी बड़ी होती हैं, बड़े बड़े दावे किए जाते हैं, बड़े बड़े वादे किए जाते हैं, इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टो में बातें की जाती हैं, बड़े बड़े स्पीच दिए जाते हैं कश्मीरी पंडितों को लेकर. बीजेपी के बारे में खास तौर पे ये कहा जाता है, अगर एक फिल्म कश्मीर फाइल्स आती है तो बीजेपी उसको खूब अच्छी तरह प्रमोट करती है. लेकिन आज जब कश्मीरी पंडित मारे जा रहे हैं कश्मीर में और आप देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह के प्रोटेस्ट रोज हो रहे हैं, वो कह रहे हैं हमारी जान को खतरा है, हम यहाँ महफूज नहीं हैं, हमें यहाँ से जाने दीजिए, हमें यहाँ से ट्रांसफर कर दीजिए. वो कह रहे हैं कि हमें बंदी बना के रख दिया गया है, ना तो हमारी सिक्योरिटी का कोई इंतजाम है, ना हमें यहां से जाने की इजाजत दी जा रही है. तो उनका जो गुस्सा है साफ साफ वो पूरा सेंटर पे उतर रहा है. आप इसके बारे में क्या कहेंगे?
ये सबसे पहली बात मैं बात करता हूँ कश्मीरी पंडित कम्युनिटी की. हालांकि जो जम्मू कश्मीर जो स्टेट है, आपको पता है पिछले 70 साल से टेररिज्म का यहाँ पर मुकाबला कर रही है, और ना कि उसमें कश्मीरी पंडित मारा जाता, उसमें सतेंद्र कौर कश्मीरी सिख फैमिली से मारी जाती है, वहां पर कश्मीरी मुसलमान रियाज ठाकुर जो कि एसपीओ था उसको मारा जाता है. और ये जो मारदार पिछले 70 साल से चल रही है. 70 साल से जो अगर हम सेंटर की बात करें तो कांग्रेस चला रही थी, अगर हम जम्मू कश्मीर में सत्ता की बात करें तो यहाँ पर खानदानी राज चलता था, जिसमें आपको इफ्रा जान का जानकारी में दिलाना चाहूंगा. मुख्यमंत्री 2 बार जो रहे थे वो रहे थे उमर फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब और उमर अब्दुल्ला साहब. लेकिन जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने इन 3 सालों में जो बदलाव जम्मू कश्मीर में लाया है वो सबके सामने, कोई ढकी छुपी बात नहीं है. जहां तक पॉलिसीज की बात की जाती थी सेंटर से जो होती थी जम्मू कश्मीर को लेकर, वो कांग्रेस की अगर देखी जाए वो बिल्कुल फेल रही है.
लेकिन मंजूर साहब, आई एम सॉरी आपको इंटरप्ट कर रही हूं मैं, लेकिन 8 सालों से तो आप है ना पावर में, सेंटर में, और आप कह रहे हैं बहुत बदलाव आया है. मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूं, आज कश्मीरी पंडित पूछ रहे हैं क्या बदलाव आया है आर्टिकल 370 के जाने के बाद?
मैं वहां तक ही पहुंचूंगा. आपको याद दिलाना चाहूंगा कि 370 से पहले जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का मंशूर था कि हम 300 जब सरकार बनेगी तो 370 को यहां से हटाया जाएगा. एक जो डेवलपमेंट का बैरिकेड जो पिछले 70 सालों से बनाया गया था उसको हटाया हमने. लेकिन आपको पता है कि इन 2-3 सालों में जो यहाँ पर सेपरेटिज्म, जो टेररिज्म, आप स्टोन पेल्टिंग की बात कीजिए, यहाँ टूरिज्म, जो टूरिस्ट आने से यहाँ कतराता था, लेकिन इन 3 सालों में जो छवि है, जो पिक्चर है वो बिल्कुल अपोजिट है. देखिए हर एक जो सर दर्द होता है उसको जरूरी जब तक गोली नहीं दी जाएगी तब तक वो सर दर्द भी नहीं भागता है. तो मुझे लगता है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी इन 3 सालों में कामयाब हो रही है धीरे धीरे. जो एक टेररिज्म की कमर तोड़ी है भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने, सेपरेटिज्म, फर्स्ट टाइम हिस्ट्री में यासीन मलिक अभी जेल में है, जिस यासीन मलिक ने कश्मीरी पंडित, कश्मीरी मुसलमानों का कत्ल किया.
पंडित पूछ रहे हैं कि अभी तक आपने हुर्रियत को तो बैन किया नहीं है. सुशील पंडित ये हमारे पैनल पे, वो कह रहे हैं कि आज तक आपने हुर्रियत को तो बैन किया नहीं. अच्छा, वो बात भी छोड़िए, चलिए हुर्रियत के बैन की भी बात छोड़िए. आप कह रहे हैं हमने कश्मीर की शक्ल बदल दी. लेकिन मंजूर साहब, जो लोग वहां पे प्रोटेस्ट में बैठे हैं, जिन परिवार वालों ने किसी को खोया है इन टेरर अटैक्स में, वो ये नहीं मानते कि कश्मीर की सूरत बदल गई है. ये आपका मानना है?
कश्मीर का एक हिस्सा है, और जो 1990 में गलती यहाँ पर कांग्रेस ने दोहराई थी वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी नहीं दोहराएगी. हम यहाँ से कश्मीरी पंडितों को न यहाँ से जाने की इजाजत देंगे, और जो एक हिस्सा यहाँ पर है वो चाहे कश्मीरी मुसलमान के साथ उनको मिल बैठना पड़ेगा. लेकिन मैं वही कह रहा हूं, अभी जो टेररिज्म की यहाँ पर कमर टूटी है वो एक फ्रस्ट्रेशन है. पाकिस्तान जो पिछले 3 सालों से कोशिश कर रहा है इस माहौल को वापस खराब करने की, उसको हम
देखिए मंजूर साहब, मैं इस बात से इनकार नहीं करती हूं कि टेरर बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है, पाकिस्तान एक हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है. लेकिन ये ज्यादती लगती है जब आप कहते हैं कि हम कश्मीरी पंडितों को यहाँ से जाने नहीं देंगे. वो कह रहे हैं कि हम यहाँ महफूज नहीं हैं. Sushil Pandit, you want to come in here? Manzoor Bhatt, our friend from the BJP, says our party, our government has changed the face of Kashmir in the last 3 years. Of course, normalcy has returned. Look, we have so many tourists now, and we will not let these Kashmiri Pandits leave the valley.
See, their benchmarks for justifying normalcy are misplaced. Yes, there is tourism. Today, you can't find a room in a good hotel. That's true. But at the same time, not a single Kashmiri Hindu employee in Kashmir today is willing to stay put. Now, is that a better benchmark of security, or tourists coming and going, spending a few days there, a good benchmark?
Exactly.
Even terrorism wants funding. Even the support system wants money, so they will not disrupt tourism. Their insistence is no non-Muslim should find his feet and stability in the valley. And therefore, whether it is Kashmiri Pandits, whether it is Sikhs, whether it is a poor passman selling golgappas, or even pilgrimages, the Vaishnav Devi Yatra was not even in the valley. They bombed the bus.
Yes.
And these leaders and their minions here in the program say that sometimes Kashmir Files is responsible. Imagine, there is not a single cinema hall functioning in Kashmir Valley. Nobody in Kashmir Valley could have seen the film. But the film has spread hatred, and that is what is causing it. And before that, when Bindru was killed...
But you know, the point, the larger point here really is, Sushil Pandit, doesn't the government need to do much more than what it is doing at present? And I am completely out of time. Yes, very quickly. Please wrap up your comments, Sushil Pandit, very quickly.
Neha, what government thinks should be done is to hang few tricolors on shikaras, make a video clip and spread it around the country, say the Kashmir is looking different. Turn out a tableau and a jhanki of Janmashtami from Lal Chowk. Say, see, did you ever imagine this would happen? Now, this kind of cosmetic concoction of security is actually so misleading that it causes deaths, it causes murder.
I think that is an excellent point. That is an excellent point. Rakesh Handu, I'll give you the last word, sir. Please wrap up this discussion for us. Sushil Pandit says a few tourists coming in does not reflect normalcy. Just because the tricolour is flying at Lal Chowk does not mean that normalcy has returned to Kashmir. But our friend from the BJP says we've changed the face of Kashmir in the last 3 years and we will not let Kashmiri Pandits leave the valley. Very quickly, your comments.
I fully agree with what Mr. Sushil Pandit said. I, as a Rakesh Handu, I spent my, January last year, 31st December, I celebrated in Gulmarg as a tourist. I was welcomed there. But in the meantime, when my Kashmiri Pandits go there to settle down, they are shot. They are shot inside the office. And on the other side, how can you tell me, how can terrorism and tourism, go together? They are earning money. Same money is used to kill me. Same money is used to bring guns from Pakistan. You tell me, ma'am, how many people, Kashmiri people who on big TV channels sit and say, we welcome Kashmiri Pandits. How many Kashmiri Muslims came on roads in support of people who are hungry for last 5 days? How many people went to them to see that whether they have food to eat? You tell me. They are saying we are very secular. We want Kashmiri Pandits to return back. Sushil Pandit ji has very rightly said. They are showing something. The actual position is these people who are sent there to show to the world that, Kashmiri Pandits have started returning back. And they were made scapegoats. Tell me, there was a policy. This was an economic package. This was never said as a PM package. Nobody.
And now the problem is they are bound. They are bound by this clause which says if you want a government job in Kashmir, you will have to serve in the valley. And now Kashmiri Pandits are up in arms saying we do not want to work here anymore. We just don't feel safe. Let us leave, transfer us to another place. The government is refusing to do that at the moment. Fact of the matter is, a lot is said by our political parties and governments in the name of Kashmiri Pandits. The only thing that matters is what is actually being done to help them, to improve the situation on the ground. And I'm afraid this situation seems to be pretty bad at the moment. It certainly is time for the government to pay heed to what the Kashmiri Pandits are saying. On that note, a big thank you to all my panelists for joining me on the show. And thanks very much to the viewers for watching.